So yesterday I went with my grandmother to the hospital to do some testing and to draw blood. And the nurse of assistance with the blood taking was quite brutal and mean, like not very sensitive to the pains of other people. So my grandmother has some tough veins to draw blood from. She had like 3 times cancer with the chemo, and that really does a number on your blood vessels and circulation. And so it was a little bit more a little bit more work than with somebody that you take blood from who has like healthy white vessels with like limitless amount supply of blood. And she was not very sensitive to the skin and like the pain of my grandmother. She has like psoriasis. Like all of those sickness really did like a number on her body, and everything is like quite fragile. So as soon as you press, there's like she has bruises. So she has really sensitive skin, and I can perceive that when I touch her skin, that it's that her body and her skin like really loves to be touched from like space and kindness. And that nurse was like really like pushing on her arms and pushing on those veins and like, like rubbing it in. And so my grandma was already like, this hurts. And this nurse was not changing her attitude. She was not changing her energy. She rather had like this energy of like, don't moan, don't complain without speaking. It was just like energy. And so at one point, she had to go to the other side of her body to draw blood, and she pulls out that needle, and then she's like, puts it up with such, like, I wouldn't even call it pressure. It was like, it wouldn't even be nice for me. And my brother was like, and I'm like, no, I have to speak up. So because the energy still, when my grandma was like speaking up, her energy of the nurse still wasn't changing. So I'm like, nurse, my grandmother is like a tough one, and her body has, her body is extreme sensitive. Can you please do this nice? Can you please be soft with her? And it was so interesting to see because her energy was still not changing. Like I could perceive that she was going to do the exact same thing on the other side with her other arm of my grandma. And I'm like, fuck, what do I do, And then I'm like, oh, okay. I have been really practicing a lot lately around the energy flows and energy of being. So I was like, okay, so what energy must I be? Like what energy flow must I be? And the one thing that came up, and it's a very particular specific energy, and it's called the killing energy. It's an energy that I have learned from the modality Access Consciousness. And it's basically like, this needs to change now. And it has like that energy of like killing, like this needs to change or this will kill you. And this is not to this person. It's actually very kind. It sounds like rough, but I think it's like one of the super kindest energies, because when you add it, you basically transform and mutate that energy. So I was like, okay, access that energy. What energy do I need to be? So it was not a cognitive process. It was purely energetically, and fuck, her energy changed. I was surprised. I'm like, oh, her energy changed almost immediately. And she was becoming softer with my grandma and her arms. And she was even in like the following, I don't know, minutes, she was like justifying and explaining why she was so rough before. And I looked at that, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I have been in the last week with everything in my life with regards to people, with regards to relationships, with regards to money wise, or everything that had like this, that has this or had this off, wonky energy of where I feel depleted and I feel like, oh fuck, I don't know if I will ever be able to change this, or to have this a totally different outcome. When you sort of like, when you actually not sort of, when you feel powerless. I have been, and that's the only thing that I have been doing, I have been employing the killing energy, and to not speak out anymore, to not justify anymore, to not explain myself, to simply add the killing energy to the energetic conversation. And I'm actually really curious what will, because like sometimes with the nurse I had an immediate result, and I have been seeing like a result of adding this energy. And there's like some stuff that probably needs to take a bit longer. I'm very curious about this, and I had like a very cool conversation also in the Thrive membership with Amanda Anderson, where like we all chipped in on that conversation, and it was such an exciting conversation that really allowed all of us access to like body energy, like feeling energized, but also like all of these different energies that we can employ to basically also like transform other energies with, in face of unconsciousness, or in face of where we feel powerless and depleted, that we have the power to, through our being and not our doing, change stuff. And that gets me so excited. And if this is something like, wow, limitless energy, I don't know, I don't have no idea what she's talking. Maybe you do, maybe you're following, maybe you're like, I'm not following, but like I feel so light, I feel so energized. I have a few classes coming up. One of the classes is the Access Bars class, which was like my very first class, where I discovered that, or like rediscovered energy for the first time in this lifetime. And for me, that was then a huge revelation, and it only has gotten so much bigger and different, and the access to the wondrous world of energy has only been more opened and broadened and accessible and workable. And the other class is going to be, so the Access Bars class is going to be like a live class. It's going to be one in Amsterdam, in West Flanders, and there's going to be one in Brussels. And the other class is an online class, and it's called Being, Personality, and Energy, where we're gonna like dive in. So it's gonna be like an advanced introduction class to access consciousness. And so I'm gonna ask for, the prerequisite is gonna be Access Bars, the Access Bars class. So you can actually have that perception of energy, and you will be able to follow and get the most out of the class. And yeah, I think that was it.